Welcome to Losing a Child, Always Andy's Mom. On this podcast, we journey through the devastating experience of the death of a child. Grief is seldom discussed openly in our culture, and the death of a child makes people feel even more uncomfortable. We approach the topic openly and honestly, speaking to people who have lost loved ones and experts who help care for them. Whether you are a parent experiencing loss or someone who wants to support another going through this tragedy, this podcast strives to offer hope and help.
Welcome to episode number 318 of Losing a Child, Always Andy's Mom. I'm Marcy Larson, Andy's mom. Today, I have the pleasure to introduce you to Jerry. Jerry has a history that we'll go through early in the episode, so I'm not going to go into that now. But I do want to say that she wrote a really great book that I'm really excited to read. I haven't read it yet, but I do think it will be an amazing resource to parents who have surviving children that are older in their childhood. This week, I have the pleasure of announcing two different sponsors for the episode. And we have two sponsors this week. We may have no sponsors other weeks, but we have two sponsors this week because they're very special days for both of them. So the first sponsor is Micah in memory of her son, Pike. And Micah wrote to me, Pike's birthday is October 17th, and he is forever 14. He reminds me of Andy, as he also sang the solo when he was 12. Pike was loving, servant-hearted, and had lots of quirky hobbies. He was described by many kids as their first friend or best friend. The second sponsor is Sherry. Sherry is donating to the podcast in memory of her son, Matthew. And Sherry wrote, Matthew's anniversary is October 16th, which will make 15 years. He was 23 years old when he died in an automobile accident. Life as we knew it changed forever. Prayers for all on this journey. It's one day at a time, even after 15 years. So thank you so much to both of my amazing sponsors today. I really appreciate those gifts as they keep coming in. Again, if you would like to sponsor an episode in honor of your child or in honor of another child, you can visit the donate page on andysmom.com or go to Give Butter and donate in that way as well. I also want to take a moment here to talk about the next live stream. So as you know, these live streams are up and going again, and we're going to try something a little different. First of all, I'm going to give you a lot more notice. So the next live stream is Monday, November 3rd. The second thing we're going to have is a big change, and we're going to change it to 4 o'clock in the afternoon and see how that goes. It seems like the evenings had not been very well attended, so maybe later in the afternoon will work better for some people. We'll just see how it goes, and we may go back to evening later on, but we're going to give that a try. So the next live stream, the topic will be on more of the unexpected emotions that you felt during grief. So I'm going to give you 3 questions over the next 3 weeks. The first question is, can you recall emotions or responses that you had in your grief that surprised you? Maybe those surprises were right as soon as that loss happened, or maybe further along in your grief journey. But if you have an answer to that question, please feel free to email that to me. And just know that also we want you to tune in on November 3rd on that Monday afternoon, and hopefully we can get some vibrant conversation going on the live stream with people in that space. But if you email ahead of time, we'll read through those responses as well. I'm sure Gwen and I will have plenty to talk about either way. If you want to share your story on the podcast, please feel free to email me at Marcy, M-A-R-C-Y, at andysmom.com. Whether you want to share that story on the podcast or you just want to share some little things with me, there is nothing I love more than getting those emails and hearing amazing stories of your precious children. Right now, I just want you to sit back and enjoy listening to Jerry, Jenny, and Jesse's mom. Thank you so much, Jerry, for coming on the Always Andy's Mom podcast today.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I am looking forward to talking to you. I just want to say that Jerry is a little bit of an unusual guest in some ways. So I got information about Jerry, and I get information from publishers all the time. They always send things, and sometimes it's something that I think would be good for the audience and it really fits well, and other times it doesn't fit so well. And so we kind of have to tease through things and decide what's going on. And most of the time my guests are bereaved parents, as my listeners know. But sometimes I have someone that is suggested to me doesn't quite fit in the norm. And so I kind of thought that was you, Jerry. I looked at this, and Jerry was introduced as a widow, but who had an amazing passion for helping children in their grief, and wrote a book on helping children in their grief, and really has made it kind of a life's mission to help kids go through grief. So I thought, okay, I think this will really work, because I have so many listeners that will email me and ask for help and guidance on how to help their surviving children grieve. So I wrote to Jerry and I said, this is a little bit different than my norm, but this is what I would like to do still. And lo and behold, you had a personal story of child loss as well that just hadn't been mentioned and hadn't been really listed on that little bio sheet that I came. So turns out you kind of do fit the mold a little more than I thought, which I'm sad to have to say. But so anyway, I feel like we've got quite a bit to talk about today, and I feel like my audience is really going to resonate so much with what you have to say.
I agree.
Yeah, but it was a surprise to me when you told me that. So I do want you to start out by talking about your losses and your grief journey, and specifically about Jenny and Jesse, first of all.
Okay. Yes, I was married and we were starting a family. We were able to have my daughter, Julie, but I had to be put on bed rest at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then we decided we're going to expand our family, have more children. And I was pregnant, was teaching, 20 weeks along, lose the baby.
Yeah. Crushing.
It was crushing. There's a difference between miscarriage, because I've had a few of those early on.
Yeah.
That's what I call. And then premature birth.
Yeah. Right.
Where you actually have to deliver.
Right.
So.
And you feel like you're getting so close too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It's like halfway through, you're feeling really good. You got through the first trimester, and, you're halfway through. You've got the big baby bump.
Right.
Going on.
We lost our first baby, and it was just early in the second trimester. And I really felt like, okay, I'm not going to tell anyone until we get to second trimester. Once we get to second trimester, I can do all the big announcements and all the big stuff. And so you feel like you're in second trimester, like, okay, this is okay. I can make some announcements. Things are going to be fine now. And for me, it was earlier than 20 weeks, but gosh, especially once you get to 20 weeks, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. And like you say, you go through a delivery. You deliver a baby, and you're looking at a little baby.
Yes.
Especially when, and I don't know, it's probably because I'm a doctor and I treat premature babies. I always feel like, well, once you hit 24, we're like, okay. So, even though you're halfway through pregnancy, you're 4 weeks from what's considered viability, anymore, sometimes 3, but at that point in time, really 24 weeks, you kind of consider like you're going to have a baby.
Right.
You have a living baby. Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, there's an interesting connection that I'll talk about later with when we did adopt my son, because he was born premature 6 weeks.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So anyway, Jenny was my first loss. I mean, my first personal loss. And, so like many people were experiencing loss that heavy for the first time. We may have heard of things that people tell us to do, like try to keep your normal schedule, your normal life, as much as possible. Don't make any major changes, that kind of thing. But I was really hurting. So my mom said, I think you need to go see a counselor, a Christian counselor.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. And in talking with a Christian counselor, they said, well, you're a believer, you're a Christian, you're a believer. So can you imagine where Jenny is in heaven? And I thought, okay. Then all of a sudden, a light bulb went off, and I'm like, Jesus is holding her.
Yeah.
And then that moment of realization saying, well, if Jesus is holding my baby, what better place could my child be than in the arms of Jesus if they couldn't be in my arms?
Yeah. Right. Which obviously you'd rather have her in your arms, but
Absolutely. And it didn't, the natural inclination to want to have more children was still there, so, had two miscarriages first trimester. We thought we were done
yeah.
with trying. And actually, after the second loss, that is when the doctors finally did a blood test to say, let's figure out what's going on.
Uh-huh.
I wish they had done it the first time, because then they could have seen that you're a doctor. So have you heard of this anti-cardiolipin thing?
Uh-huh. I had that.
Okay.
I had that. But they actually tested me after the first time because it was a second trimester loss.
Okay.
And so they tested me after the first one, and then I went on aspirin therapy for every other pregnancy I was ever on, or ever had. And they all went, to term. So, and I don't know if it was the aspirin or something else, but,
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's something that's definitely.
Well, so that was where it's like my body was rejecting it.
Yeah.
And so had two more miscarriages, thought we were done. Okay, but we're going to adopt. So we chose to go through a private adoption. We had met a lady who had adopted. She gave us the name of an attorney or whatever, and we started going through the process. Now, the first time, the birth mother changed her mind.
Oh.
And that's fine.
Yeah. Although it is crushing, I have to say. That's hard. Yeah.
It is crushing. You have that emotional investment and financial investment that you don't get back.
Yeah.
But, we decided to keep going. And so that's when my son was born 6 weeks early. And I really think that if he had not been born early, we might not have gotten him at that point.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The birth mother and I were writing letters back and forth. And even though it was closed and we didn't know who each other was, we did write and share our hearts with each other. Anyway, so then we had a fight with the hospital.
Oh dear.
Well, not everybody is positive about adoption. They think they're helping the birth mother. They're trying to protect the birth mother. Yeah. But these were all things that were already in place, and the birth mother had already agreed. And the Lord told me, be wise as a serpent, gentle as a dove, Jerry. And I finally used these words, and I said, I think it's very inhumane for you not to allow us to bond with our son.
Yeah. And
then the doors opened, and we were able to bond with our child.
Yeah.
So now we have Julie, now we have Josh, and again, we're still hoping to expand our family. We've tried adoption, and I told the Lord, I said, I'm willing to adopt, special groups.
Yeah.
Siblings, that kind of thing. We found 2 girls in Texas, and we were able to adopt them. That completed our family at that time. And then suddenly I got pregnant again.
Yeah.
Now this went 18 weeks because I was thinking, oh, this is great. This is great. This is going to pull all of us together. That is when I lost Jesse. So
yeah, at 18 weeks.
I mean, I've given Jay names. I don't always remember them, but I give Jay names to all my children. So
yeah.
But Jenny and Jesse, because I help them.
Yeah.
They definitely have names. We buried them. We mourn them. my son was definitely impacted because he was like 4 or 5 years old and he was looking forward to having a big brother. I mean, a little brother. He would be the big brother.
Being a big brother, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, and, he's even mentioned that like to my grandson. So that was definitely something that, that he grieved as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. So that's a lot that you had already gone through with your grief journey, but then you had another big loss, obviously. And I do want you to talk about losing your husband.
Yes. In 2004, I lost my best friend, my best supporter, the person who supported all my dreams that helped me get my doctorate degree. I mean, he took over cooking and
Yeah.
lots of other responsibilities so that I could pursue my dream. And he went in the hospital on a Sunday. He had a surgery on Monday. They removed a huge tumor from his colon. It took a few days to get the biopsy results. We got that on Thursday. They said, yes, it is colon cancer. And this is the plan. We got to get him well enough, get out of the hospital,
Uh-huh.
be well enough for a month before we could start treatment. So Thursday night, we're all thinking, okay, we know there's a plan.
Right.
Friday, I go. My kids are with other families,
Mm-hmm. Because how old were the kids at this point?
12 and 16.
Okay. Are the two and then, okay.
My son was 12, my daughter was 16.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in. I think my mom was waiting with me in the waiting room. My husband had seen his family. His brother had come to see him the night before. And then I go in, because they had special hours that you can go into ICU. And his cancer had metastasized. And so it was shutting down his organs. And we couldn't keep him on dialysis because the blood pressure was too low.
Oh.
So you have a very thin man. He's swelling up with fluid. And then I was there about noon on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and he went into cardiac arrest and died.
Wow. So sudden. I mean, you certainly, I mean, when you got that cancer diagnosis, you certainly, I'm sure, thought there was a chance he could die, but you did not think that he possibly would die then. I mean, like right away, that hospitalization.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And, my husband's usually not sick at all.
Yeah.
He never misses church. And he missed church that Sunday. He tells me on Sunday night, call 911. I need, call for the paramedics. So I'm like, what?
Oh, so he wasn't really having much for symptoms at all, or did he tell you then later that he did, or?
Stomach,
Yeah.
stomach issues, gastro issues, that kind of thing. But I think he sensed there was something serious. And
Yeah.
so as they're wheeling him out with the paramedic, I told them, I said, his dad has survived colon cancer several times. My husband looks at me like, why are you telling them that?
Yeah. Because it didn't even cross his mind that it could be that. Because how old was he at the time?
He was 45 years old.
Okay.
And at that time, they were testing at 50.
Right. My dad got colon cancer as well. He was in his 30s. So.
Yeah.
I know that. I get that.
I mean, if there's a family history.
Right.
I think now they're doing it earlier.
Yeah. No, I had to get my first colonoscopy at 27 because my dad was 37. So they do it usually 10 years before the youngest member of your family. And so that's kind of I think that's been for a long time because I'm 51 now and I got my first one at 27. So that was a long time ago. So, but anyway, yeah, that's obviously what a shock and what a difficult thing. So why don't you talk a little bit about your grief journey then as now a widow? And really, you've done a grief with your husband as your partner, but now this is doing it on your own.
Exactly. So different. I mean, you have some, oh yeah, I don't want to move. I don't want to make any major changes that first year or whatever. And, so I knew there were certain things. I knew that what I was feeling was grief because I recognized it.
Yeah.
Grieving that partner that you got to choose
Yeah.
to be in your life. He handled bills. I remember my son saying, "Who's going to cook for us?"
Yeah.
And I'm just like, because he had taken over that while I was going to school, that duty. And then even when I finished school, he wouldn't let me take it back. So it was a very real question. My son was like, "Who's going to cook for us? Who's going to do this for?" These were questions he suddenly had in his mind because he always saw his dad doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, after the first year, needed some money to come in. So made a cross-country move from Florida to Indiana, where I took on a job, got a new house. When we're grieving, we can fill our time, our daytime at least, with busy things
Mm-hmm.
to keep us busy and not focused. But usually at night is when it hits us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. When that mind, you can't.
right.
Yeah. The mind just starts to go and wander to those places, the dark places.
So I say year 3 was an intense year for me.
Really?
Because all of a sudden, okay, here I am. I'm in a state that that I'm by myself.
Yeah.
My kids are growing up. They're doing their thing. I bought a home for a family. Well, it's not going to be the same.
No.
So that's when I started doing a lot of journaling.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I was invited to go to a Christian writing conference, and that's when the Widow's book,
Okay.
Trading My Sorrows for the Joy of the Lord, came about, because I was in a young widows fellowship. I was taking ballroom dancing where I met other widows and widowers. And, we would share our stories. And as a result of sharing our stories, we found community.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that was very healing for me. That came out in 2010. So nothing happened for 15 years
Yeah.
until until Joy Overcame Sorrow came about. Now,
Yeah. Your new book. Mm-hmm.
my new book, and this is the one written for for children. And I'd also say I say it has 3 audiences: the child who's lost a loved one, or the child who's a reader who wants to help their friend who's lost a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
So I say that's one audience. Second audience is the helpers.
Yeah.
It may be the parent. It may be a family member. It may be another caregiver or a teacher, or, think about who the helpers are that can help our children.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a resource. It's kind of like putting it in narrative form so that they can see what a child might be feeling,
Mm-hmm.
what they might be doing.
Yeah.
Then the third audience is for adults, either who have just newly lost someone, like maybe lost a dad,
Uh-huh.
or who lost a parent or a special person in their life when they were young and they never really got resolution of their grief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they have unresolved grief.
Yeah. Wow. And I could say that was me because I lost my mom when I was 21 years old. Not like super, super young, but still, still at an age when you're in college, when you're needing your mom.
Right.
And I didn't grieve like I should have grieved. And I didn't realize, actually, until after losing Andy, how much I hadn't grieved. And it took a long time for my therapist to actually kind of say that to me. I think she figured it out really quite early that I had a lot of unresolved grief from losing my mom, but didn't say anything to me until she had been seeing me for quite some time, when she said, I think we need to work on the stuff with your mom a little bit. And it was, because your brain's still developing, and you still need your mom, and you still, all of that
Right.
stuff.
And,
So,
you remember your mom growing up with your mom. So you still
Mhm.
remember your mom as a child, as a teenager, as a,
Yeah.
college student, whatever. Those were your memories of your
Yeah.
mom.
Right.
So
Right. And then I think it's hard when you start going through those transitions yourself, right? When I get married and I have a baby and I have all those things that you think other people have their mom there for, and I didn't. And then I think especially then, and I'm going to get emotional about this, but then when I lost my own little boy, you need your mom. I mean, I've talked to so many bereaved moms, younger bereaved moms, who really turn to their mom when they're going through this. And I didn't have that. So it was, it was,
a double whammy.
I think it made things a little more difficult in
Yes.
some ways that you didn't have that person, right?
Yeah, section in the book for Joy is never wills. Children, or any of us, we grieve in the present, but we're also grieving our past because we had such wonderful, happy memories. We're also grieving those things that we hoped would happen in our future.
Right.
When I married my husband, I wanted to grow old with him. Okay, that's a never will.
Right.
My daughter is newly engaged and, going to be planning a wedding soon. I'm sure there's going to be a never will moment.
Right.
Because her dad is not going to be there.
Right.
Walking her down the aisle.
Right.
Now I have a plan. I know we're going to have a conversation about this, but that's a never will.
And that lends itself really to child loss, because that is so much of child loss is watching your kids' friends grow up and watching them get their driver's license or go to the prom or get engaged and get married and have their own kids, and none of those things are ever going to happen.
Because you've lost a future.
You're not going to have grandchildren. You're not going to have, right? It's a huge loss of future, and so hard. So I think that's a great point, that it's something that kids who go through loss and parents who go through the loss of their kids can have. I think both of us have that same type of thing. So whether you're a kid who lost a sibling or you're a kid who lost their parent, it's all those things that'll never happen. The never wills. I really do like that term. Yeah.
So what do we do with that?
Yeah.
For example, in the book, Joy and her dad were practicing they were going to go to the father-daughter dance. So Joy's dad was teaching her how to do the rumba. Okay. So he's teaching her the steps to the rumba. They're talking about the outfits they're going to wear, and this is taking place during the summer on their vacation. And the dance is in September after school starts again. Okay. So when dad dies, the question obviously in Joy's mind, who's going, I'm not going to be able to go to the father-daughter dance with my dad. Is there another solution? Is there another possibility? Can we still do the things that we may have planned with our loved one and have another person be with us to honor their life and the promise that they had made for us? Somehow we still want it. Somehow Joy still wanted to go to the father-daughter dance.
Right.
So could she go with her grandpa?
Yeah.
So these are things that I think, for the parents who are grieving the loss, of a child or any kind of loss, that they can kind of think through what else can we do. If this is a need that the child needs, how can we reframe this so it's not always going to be, oh, I didn't get to go to the dance with my dad.
Right. Well, and thinking about that you don't necessarily also have to be the one to do that, right? So I think that falls on parents a lot, is they feel a lot of pressure to do the thing, to be the everything for their kids then. And
It's
sometimes
exhausting.
you're not the best person to do that. I think very much about my dear friend Michelle. She's one of my dearest, closest friends. When Michelle was younger, she had two sisters. She was the middle sister. She had a big sister and her little sister. And her little sister died of cancer. And right before her little sister died, her older sister was diagnosed with the exact same cancer. So her parents are, they're a mess, right? They're actively watching one child die while they're in the introductory stages of trying to start cancer treatment for their oldest one to help her live. Well, Michelle is now the healthy one, the one without the problem. And they ended up having a very close family friend that could be for Michelle what her parents couldn't be at the time. Right?
Good.
And so I think that's a beautiful thing to remember when you are trying to help your kids grieve, to allow yourself to ask for help. Because Michelle, I've talked to her many times about this, Michelle did not want to turn to her parents at that moment because she did not want to be an additional stressor on them. And I think kids do that. Kids want to protect their parents. And when kids are grieving, their parents are too, right? No matter what the loss was, if that kid is grieving, it's because it was someone very close to them, unless maybe it was a close childhood friend or something. But in general, if it's a family member, their parents are grieving too. And they just will try to protect them. As much as parents, it's their parents' instinct to protect their kids. It is a kid's instinct to protect their parents as well. I don't know if you've noticed that as well, I would assume.
I've noticed that. And one thing that I recently watched the movie Sketch. Are you familiar with that? Okay.
Okay.
It's about a little girl. She does all these drawings and they look like they're scary and all that. But when you start watching this movie, you know it's all about grief. So they've lost the mother. Okay. The mother is gone. You don't know why. You're not introduced to that part of the story. The dad is taking all the pictures of mom off the wall because it's too painful for him. The brother is just trying to keep everything the same. Like there's a plate that's a special day plate that you only use like on birthdays or celebrations or whatever. And this thing gets broken. And this tears up this boy that's trying to keep it together. He's trying to keep his family together. Then you've got the little girl that is drawing all these scary, mad pictures, and the psychiatrist is going, okay, I'm glad you're drawing it, not doing it.
Yeah.
But what the movie is about is realizing that the daughter was the only one that was being true and authentic and facing their grief and expressing it.
Yeah.
So it's a very good movie to watch together with your family.
Mm-hmm.
Father realizes, the brother realizes, the brother's just been trying to keep everybody together and trying to help his sister. And, she's pushing him away. But, the brother ends up being a hero. So the little girl ends up being a hero in the story. And the dad finally realizes, oh, this is what I've been doing to my kids. I didn't know. I thought I was protecting them.
Mm-hmm. You weren't.
But I was protecting myself because it just hurt so badly. And I'm just trying to keep moving forward. So I thought it's brilliant. It's a really good movie.
That does sound really good. Yeah, I should check that out. It's there's so much to kind of unwrap there about facing your feelings and showing kids that it's okay to face your feelings and good, and that, you know, I think too, as not labeling for kids their feelings are good or bad. They're just how they're feeling. And, you know, her scary pictures may look scary on the outside, but I'm so glad that that psychiatrist could say, I'm glad you're drawing this. I'm glad you are feeling these. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how you're feeling and not try to hide it away and tuck it away. Mm-hmm.
So there's a little fantasy part of the thing because all of a sudden her drawings come alive.
Uh-huh. Right.
But that is when the whole family works together to take care of all of these things. Like she's really mad at her dad and she draws this eyeball with spider legs and she calls them eiders, and eiders will steal your stuff. So she's mad at her dad. So she's drawing this picture of all these eiders stealing his phone, his cup, you know, his keys, that kind of thing. And so, you know, we know it's a kid's movie because there's animation, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden this turns into reality, but the whole family has to fight against it. And there was a beautiful scene because the little girl, she used to draw these beautiful pictures and always bring them to her dad. You know, this was when mom was still alive. Bring them to her dad. And he says, you know what I miss? I miss when you would just bring me these pictures, you know, that you drew and you'd share with me and, you know, that special connection. And she says, well, you probably just threw him away in the trash. And he didn't. He saved a bin full of them. He goes back into the house, brings the bin out, and he shows her all the pictures. He goes, remember this picture? You know, this was the pit of hearts. This was, you know, whatever. And so she finally realizes, okay, Dad really does want that connection with me. And she's going to show him all her scary drawings. She says, you got to promise me you're not going to freak out.
Uh-huh.
You know, the pictures look scary, so he's going to freak out a little bit, but he's trying to be calm and say, you know, this is who this is. This is who this is. So when these things do come to life, he knows about them. He knows what they are. But you know what rescues the whole family from all these terrible pictures? Those pictures he had saved.
Oh.
The good one.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I'm sorry, I probably took too much time explaining
No.
sketch.
No, is that so? Is that the Disney movie? Is that Lilo and Stitch? Is that what that is? Or no?
Lilo and Stitch is another movie about grief, and it's very good. But no, it's Angel Studios.
Oh, it's an Angel Studios one. Okay. Then it's called Stitch. Is that what you said? It's
called Sketch.
Sketch. Okay. I was like, you're explaining it, and like I never watched either one, so I didn't know. But yeah, okay. I love that. That's beautiful. It does sound like something that would be really good for parents to watch too, doesn't it? I mean,
I agree.
Parents and kids, and yeah, I think that's beautiful. So I do want to go back to before you wrote this book. And because before we started recording, you started talking about how you feel like this is a calling for you, this to help grieving children. So can you talk about how that kind of became a calling for you?
Yes, I was a classroom teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would have students that were in my class that were grieving.
Uh-huh.
So I had one 5th grade boy. He had lost his dad 2 years prior to him being in my class, but he was still showing signs of grief.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to explain this to a group of people that I wanted to do a speech for. It was a different topic. And so I'm elaborating because they're not understanding what I want to do. And I'm elaborating a little bit saying I'm a teacher. I was the perfect teacher for this kid. Not that I'm perfect, but because I understood grief. I had experienced it. I knew what it looked like.
Because this is after your husband died?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
This was after her husband died. And, you know, I knew from just observing how differently my own children reacted to grief. I was a little bit more aware and observant.
Sure.
So I'm explaining this to this group of people, and they're like, you should write a children's book about grief. And I'm going, what?
Yeah.
So then I like challenges. And I'm creative. So I'm like, how would I do this? And I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know how to write
Yeah.
fiction. Didn't know how to write from first person point of view from the 10-year-old girl.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I didn't know. I didn't know how to reduce my vocabulary so I'd sound like a 10-year-old little girl.
Uh-huh.
So these were all things that I had to kind of learn. And finally in September last year, the Lord says, okay, because I'd set the book down many times and pieces weren't coming together. And then he says, okay, in September, it's time to get the book done and out. So that's when I signed up with Hope Book Publishing.
Mm-hmm.
They had all the things with, editors and things like that to put it all together for me.
Mm-hmm.
So June 10th was the launch date, 2025 for the book. But if you are a writer, you're told you have to have a platform, you have to have social media, you have to have all these things going on. And you're going, I'm exhausted even thinking about all the things I need. So I'm kind of still trying to catch up.
Yeah. Oh, I get that. I wrote a chapter in a book, and oh my gosh, all the stuff that we're supposed to do. Like you do all these things on social media, and then a week before you don't say anything. So then the launch day is a bigger day, and like, oh, okay.
Exactly. And there are even traditional publishers do not promote your book. So it's like, okay, I'm self-publishing with Hope Books, but even with Hope Books, they're not promoting the book other than here's the launch date and here is our new author, and that's it. So I'm learning a lot about marketing. I learned about podcasting. Oh, it's a good idea to go on podcast. I love being a podcast guest.
Okay, good.
Oh, I do. I enjoy talking about the topic. I enjoy all the different kinds of audiences, that I'm speaking with to share. Even though I'm talking about grief, I'm hoping to share that we can move towards joy.
Right. Right.
And part of our healing, our true healing, is when we begin to help others.
Yeah.
So when you started this podcast for other bereaved parents, this is part of your healing as well.
Oh, there's no question. There's no question in this. I oftentimes I feel like, and I say this not infrequently, I feel like it helped me more than it helped other people. And then other people who hear me say that say, no, you help me more than you help you. But they don't know. I mean, I feel like I help me more. So, and I told you before we started recording that I work as a pediatrician. So obviously I think that's another reason why your story resonated with me, because I do have a significant interest in kids and being able to help kids. But I wasn't able to go back to work really until after I started my podcast, because the podcast ended up being that healing for me, that I was able to kind of have a little bit of a purpose for my grief so that I could function and do what I, had always loved doing, what suddenly I wasn't loving for a while.
Well, I know at 6 months after my husband passed away, I had my daughter in the car. I'd driven by the studio several times, and I finally said, hey, Julie, come in with me for moral support. And it was the Arthur Murray Ballroom Dance Studio. So the Egyptian salesman, the owner, he's very good. He saw two for the price, two of us for taking dance lessons. He was very good. He promoted community. He loved everybody. He accepted everybody. He'd introduce you to everybody. Oh, hey, Jerry, this is a new student that's just learning this. Would you, you're practicing dancing with people. I didn't know how much I needed that social connection.
Yeah.
Of I need people not to know me as Mrs. David Woodbridge, even though I think that's still an honor. I needed people to know me as Jerry.
Yeah.
I needed to be just who I was and learn something new.
Yeah. Right. Right. And to not have everyone just look at you with the sad eyes. To
Exactly.
have people look at you as just you.
Right. Well, see, when we get stuck, and that's how I was feeling before I started dancing, when we get stuck, that's where bitterness, resentment, that's when we start comparing. That's when we can't heal.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
then we allow envy to come in, and envy rots the bones or rots our soul from the inside out. We don't want that.
Yeah.
Our loved ones that we lost, our children, our spouses, or whoever we've lost that's important in our life, they wouldn't want us being miserable.
No. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that envy, and because our next live stream that we have, we're going to talk about some of the lesser known emotions of grief that you don't hear about, you don't think about, things that maybe surprise you. And the first one, I mean, we're going to get people writing in, listeners writing in with some of the things that maybe surprised them in their grief or emotions they weren't expecting. But the first one I wanted to talk about was envy.
Right.
Because I don't think you don't think about that is going to be a huge part, or could be a huge part of your grief. And it is. It really is.
It really is. And it's really something that you really do have to fight. Now, I actually wrote in the book, I was told, I needed to have conflict.
Okay.
Okay. This is a kid book. Conflict.
Okay.
All right.
All right. You still have some conflict.
Bella is her best friend, Joy's best friend. And she keeps calling Joy, say, hey, you want to come over? You want to do stuff? You want to ride bikes again? You want to go to the butterfly garden? She's reaching out to Joy, after the funeral. And Bella has sympathy. She cried for her friend when she was at the funeral. And she's trying to show Joy sympathy. Okay. That's not what Joy needed.
Yeah.
Joy needed her best friend to be willing to just be with her, let her talk about her dad, let her feel the way she needed to feel, and just to be there. She needed empathy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there's another part of the conflict was Joy was resenting or envying Bella's family because her family was still intact with dad.
Yeah.
And you're not going to believe this. I had to question, and I said, Lord, really? This is what you want me to put in as a story for Joy's mom, to teach her about envy.
Okay.
Do you remember the two women who lived together in the same house and they had two babies? One rolled over on the baby, wasn't intentional. She was grieving. She was not making a lot of sense, and she claimed the other baby as her own. So then you have the two women coming into King Solomon. He's got to make a judgment as to who is the mother of this baby.
Yes. Right.
And this
they
is why
both claim to be the mother at first.
Both claim to be the mother. Yes. Now, I think of the one mother. She's stuck in her grief. I mean, she's not making good choices. She's not making good decisions, but she is grieving, and she's trying to replace that one that she lost. So I can identify with her in that. But
sure,
when King Solomon says, okay, soldier, divide the baby in half, give each half to the two mothers, and the mother, who was truly the mother, loved her child so much she was willing to give that child to the one it did not belong to.
She said, no, don't give the child to her.
King Solomon knew, because remember, God gave him wisdom. King Solomon knew who the real mother was, and the child was returned to that mother.
It's a beautiful story, really.
Yeah, it is.
But it does kind of show how grief skews everything.
It does.
And you're not then thinking logically. And like you said, it's a fabulous example of envy. She was so envious of that other mother who still had her living child that she'd rather them both have lost them than have to watch the one raise her
Right.
child. Mm-hmm.
So the mother further explains and says, okay, Joy, do you understand what we're trying to share here? We know that you're sad because you lost your dad, but do you really want Bella to experience that same sadness of losing her dad?
Yeah.
No. Is that how I've been acting? I've been such a jerk. I'm sorry. So that's how we pulled in the sympathy, empathy, and envy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do love that. It is so hard. And so many of us say that it's difficult when you're grieving your child because, people say stupid stuff and they don't know what to say. And so they say the wrong thing all the time. You have to give them grace and say, but I don't want them to know. I don't really want them to know this pain so much that they realize that that was wrong, that was the wrong thing, because you don't want them to have to experience it. And in some ways, the only way to know it is to have lived it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And telling stories, in the beginning, it is hard, right? When you lose. Telling those stories, it's hard to tell them. And there's something that happens in our brain, in the amygdala and the hippocampus, that can affect our memory and affects the fear center of our brain. So there's all that going on as well. It's a physiological process that's happening with grief as well. But, we need to give each other grace, and we need to allow each other. Please talk about my child. Please tell me. Does your heart warm up? I know it's been a while for you, Marcy, but does your heart warm up when somebody says, do you remember when Andy did this?
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%.
It's like a treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like that scripture where Mary ponders all these things in her hearts. That's what we ponder.
Mm-hmm.
We keep those good memories alive. And, people think, well, I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to upset them. Well, they actually do need you to talk about them.
Yeah. It's so funny because we just had the 7-year anniversary of his death. And I talked about this on last week's podcast a little bit too, that there was a 5K that my office was running, and it was the day after that. And I asked if they would wear I have these bracelets that say "Be still" on them, because Andy's favorite verse was "Be still and know that I am God." And so that's the verse that I've really clung to since Andy died, on just remembering to be still. And so I asked if people would wear those when they did the run. And several did. Like, a lot of people in the office wore them. But what has warmed my heart is that since then, it's been now more than a month, people still wear them. People come in and they're wearing the bracelet. And they're not wearing the bracelet now because I told them to wear the bracelet. Or, I went down to the billing office the other day and 2 of them were wearing the bracelet. They don't even see me normally. They weren't doing that for me. They were doing that to kind of remember Andy and to remember me and all of that. And in my mind, I guess I had thought, it's been 7 years, no one remembers anymore. And I think they do. I think they just don't know what to say. And like you said, they don't want to make me sad, so they don't bring it up. But when I see somebody wearing that bracelet, I know they're remembering. And even though tears would well up in my eyes a little bit when I see that, it wasn't making me sad. Those tears were my heart being full.
Yeah.
That someone other than me is remembering Andy at that moment, right?
Yes. In scripture, it talks about that God keeps a record of our misery when we're talking to him about our hurts and our whatever. He keeps a record of that. It's precious because we're precious to him. And, I just think that that is wonderful. Have you heard about the bottles that they would collect the tears?
Oh, yeah. I feel like mine would be gallons and gallons by now.
Exactly. I mean, God loves us so much. He even is preserving our tears.
Yeah.
I mean, golly. So if he loves us that much, I'll tell you, Andy's having a blast where
Yeah.
he's at. And he's looking forward to seeing you when it's your
Yeah.
time. But to me, that's where I know when I'm on podcast, I just have to be real and authentic and share my experience. But I believe it's going to be a happy time. I've got 4 heavenly deposits in heaven that are waiting to meet their mom. I already know Jesus told them all about them. I already know their dad's already taking care of them. There's a lot of people that have different ideas. I believe I will see them grow up when I'm there. So I found a book called Tilly by Frank Peretti that really helped me during my grief time as well.
Okay. Well, good. That's something to look into as well. Well, thank you so much, Jerry, for coming on the podcast today and for sharing your grief journey and then just sharing some of your wisdom on helping kids. And again, the book is called Joy Overcame Sorrow. There's also a companion book to it, which we didn't talk about, but that companion is called Joy's Journal. And that's where kids can journal their own experiences, right? Along with joy.
Right. So it'll have a book prompt to get the conversation started.
Yeah.
And then it asks, for example, like when Joy received bad news about her dad, what were all those emotions that we read about in chapter 2? Write them down. Okay, when you heard the bad news for the loss of your loved one, how are you feeling? And they can write that down and personalize it.
So what age group is this kind of geared towards then?
Because it's a chapter book, fiction, 4th through 7th grade. And the reason why I geared it for that is because there's a lot of picture books out there for 8 and under about death and dying and different losses. But I really did not see any books out there that told it from a child's point of view about their grief journey.
Yeah, about that older elementary / middle school age, which is a tough age, a tough age. And like I said, I feel like that is an age where they really do try to protect you. I mean, they really do. There's just no other way to say it. I think about Peter was just starting 7th grade when this happened. We did get him a good therapist, which I think was important. And even when the therapist was like, I think Peter really doesn't need to see me, Peter said, no, I think I still need to see him, because I think he knew that he wasn't feeling comfortable saying some things to his dad and me. I mean, he just didn't want to hurt us, and it was a safer place to be able to still do that. So I love that. I love the companion part of it, because if you do that, I think it can open up some of those conversations that would feel too awkward for them to start without having that prompt. Because especially I feel like that age, that 5th to 7th grade kind of thing, is that they're not going to want to say these things. But if they had it and they wrote it down in a little prompt like version, and then went through it with a parent or an aunt or a grandparent or something like that, I think it would feel a little safer than to just bring it up on their own. So I do love this idea. So thank you so much for the book.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How can people get the book again?
Well, all books are on Amazon.com, but you can also go to Dr. Jerry, JRRY, Woodbridge.com.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Thanks again, Jerry.
And there's other resources out there, articles that I've been writing as well. So
Thanks for listening. If you found this helpful and would like to support the podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and comment. To help financially, you can type Andy's Mom, one word, to the number 53555. This provides a link to GiveButter, which allows donations through PayPal, Venmo, Apple Pay, or credit cards. GiveButter will provide a receipt of your tax-deductible donation. Or you can visit the donation page at andysmom.com/donate. Always Andy's Mom is a registered 501c3 and can receive donations through Thrivent Financial and Benevity. Marcy loves hearing from listeners. Please feel free to reach out to her via email at marcy@andysmom.com or on the Instagram or Facebook Always Andy's Mom accounts. Sign up for the email list to get weekly episode links as well as pictures of Marcy's guests and their children. Together, let's work to inspire hope, one day at a time.
Excellent.